Hi, I am Res. Yeah, me again. Don't go. This game is pretty good, unlike previous ones featuring me playing or me overshadowing the game with ranting. This one is long, intensive game of very few tactical mistakes, and maybe a bit more micro ones. Nonetheless, it's worth a watch. Let's begin. It's between JoZhA and Doomboy playing Soviets on the south, JoZhA on the north, obviously. And it's a pretty long game with both players using the pretty unusual execution of the usual tactics. Let's see the JoZhA placing the reactor in this spot, which is a pretty far spot from the MCV, but when the refinery is placed, it will create a nice obstacle blocking eventual harassment. Now we can see two JoZhA cores coming to the base of the Soviet player, who is in the meantime building his ground force to capture the older. You can see the second engineer or the first one going here. And those bears will be enough to scout and to capture those older, but since they see the JoZhA cores, who won't deploy just yet and try to mass down, but they will scout, and if they see the occasion is right, they will try to stop the Soviet player. Now, what do you need to stop a JoZhA? You need two flag troopers, because either by shooting or by sacrificing themselves with the mines, you need only two of them to bring one JoZhA core down, which is going to happen. And once you can place the bear in front of the barracks, it's useless. Now, JoZhA sees this, sells his barracks to get half of the cost, and tries to micromanage his JoZhA core, so it will play a further role. Now, Soviet player is massing his bears and flag troopers, and going for the capture of the Olderics with the engineers. Now, flag troopers mean twin blades. Twin blades are made from the airfield, so JoZhA went from the Echo Boom. He's got three refineries, which means a late mecha bay, but he was sure to do this because he saw those late flag trooper twin blade spam and delayed by those JoZhA cores. Now the JoZhA core will keep in chase those flag troopers. Maybe he can stay on the water spot here, so while the Soviet goes to the expense, he will need some kind of air or water unit to free this slot. Now it's about time to start some Tengu production to counter the flag blades, the twin blades, which are built right now. The first twin blade is coming up just in time with the JoZhA Mecha Tengu. You need at least 2, 3 to slow down the twin blades progress, and 5, 6 to stop flag blade. Now he places his barracks to recapture probably this Olderic, but the Soviet player will be able to destroy it with his superior units. So far, the JoZhA still needs more of the Tengu. Now, let's zoom the economy. Soviet player has 2 refineries and 2 Olderics, while JoZhA has 3 refineries, which Soviet player don't know yet. And this is a pretty much equal economy, with JoZhA having like I don't know, 15% more in terms of income. Now we can some MiG, some further flag spam, and once the critical mass is claimed, the Soviet player will try to harass with the flag blades dropping in the economy, trying to kill the harvesters. What JoZhA needs to do is to keep the Soviet player preoccupied in the middle, and he needs the vision of his units for all the time, so the Soviet can't sneak up behind the JoZhA lines. Now, the obvious counter is some Mecha Tengu, but since they are so well countered by MiGs, he needs his chopper Farixes to ensure that Mecha Tengu aren't instantly insta-gipped by the MiG fighters. And the Imperial warriors are to counter the ground units of of the flag troopers. Now we some action, some pre-scouting. Two players are waiting with the attack to have the unit advantage. He's trying to get some hits with his MiG to avoid the damage on the flag troopers. And those bears getting rid of those Imperial warriors, but there was some very nice economical-wise damage dealt by JoZhA, as Imperial warriors like $150 and a bear is 225, not to mention the flag troopers being 300. So it's a very economical-wise effective way to spam Imperial warriors, and Soviet player should come with something better, because on the long run, since he's got an economical disadvantage, he won't be able to continue like this. Yes, those Imperial warriors just charging into the flag troopers instead of bears, so it is a nice micro by JoZhA, picking the targets who cost more. Now, you don't want your flag blades, twin blades, packed down so easily, because almost each rocket in the game has a splash attack, some splash radius. So he needs to ensure cover to his units while he falls back, because he lost his aerial superiority with those heavily damaged twin blades. So he needed to slow down this slaughter on those flag blades. He couldn't do it with his units, so he came up on top with this Desolator A-Strike to stop the movement of Empire player. Now, the Soviet player has making a fourth expansion, which gives him a considerable economical advantage of 2 Oldericks, but it's not that big now, since the battle that are going on can change the thing of the battle if they are successful. Now, left with only 4 sacrifices to guard himself from the twin blades, and only 2 Mechatengu, he needs to fall back to rebuild his force. You can see some very fast actions because by JoZhA, because when you group a unit and click control is also a hotkey for auto attack. The unit will auto attack the ground, so he just pretty much shows if the player is fast or he's slow on clicking his buttons. Now, those sacrifices that JoZhA saw that only one MiG who was taken down was in the air is sure enough to get into the air without any risk and to harass the Soviet player. And Soviet player doesn't have anything to counter this, because flag troopers are too slow and MiGs aren't present and won't be present because the airfield just got down. Really, the Soviet player needs some MiGs up in the air, because he's going to be very harassed by the chopper 5X, or at least he needs some turrets to slow this progress. Now, the main force of hammer tanks guarding the middle land, because while keeping the dominance of the land, that both the chopper 4Xs and Tengu are easily countered by any armored unit, because Tengu has chain gun attack, which is effective only against infantry, and chopper 4Xs really can't stand in the air against any anti-air unit. So JoZhA is using his advantage of being mobile while weaker overall in the combat. He splits his forces to keep the Soviet player in chase, so he can keep his hammer attacks in the main base while destroying this expansion, which will cost the Soviet player dearly. What the Soviet player thinks and needs to do, he needs to cover all his expansion, which is this expansion, the main base, and this natural. This is the natural in this case for the Soviet player, with unit counters, which is mass flux here, some hammer tanks and bullfrogs in this case. So he got those places nicely covered. Move your bullfrogs, because you will lose your aerial tanks, and Mechatengus will be able to come in. Yes, a bit late, 2 hammer tanks lost, but still 3 are enough to stop that much of Tengu. And you can see some units also being left here to counter. So JoZhA can really harass any of those expansions here, because in any of those places there are units, so he needs to make another force, because he only has 2 forces of units, to try to harass him harder. But his tsunami tanks he built, he meets a heavy resistance here, flag blades, so he won't be able to run them. What the players need is to find an effective counter to each other. What I did miss, and it's a big mistake by me, JoZhA was able, with the chopper fixes, to take down the Soviet player MCV, which is a huge blow, because there is no crane. Soviet player can't build any unit. Any buildings, I'm sorry. So each building lost by Soviet player will eventually count to this final demise. Now, the great Imperial Warrior Church to take down this expansion protected by mass flag troopers, only mass flag troopers, so the Imperial Warriors were the hard counter to them, and Bears aren't fast enough to just come and kill them. So this was a big loss of many flag troopers, a very expensive unit and easy to die. So those hammer tanks and those flag trooper leftovers to protect from the air are needed to move here. And we find in the previous situation, while this expansion is being defended, the other ones are undefended. So if JoZhA had some chopper 5Xs, which he did lose, only 2 remaining, could easily harass those expansions, and the Soviet player needs to get back here fast and still cover his 3 expansions. The loss of MCV was a huge blow, will be a game turning, because JoZhA has now the freedom of moving to the air, while Soviet player can't build an airfield to come out with MiGs. So you can see he just hover around unguarded, and pretty much this is, I would say, a way of getting a GG, unless JoZhA makes a big mistakes. If he continues to use the advantage of the lost MCV and the free airspace, he will be able to successfully harass Soviet's economy till snow tomorrow. Now, the Soviet player, having a considerable ground force, decided he will eventually bleed out when continuing to defend, so he needs to get on the offense. So JoZhA kind of prepares for this and move his force. Now, I don't know why this Tango, okay, those Tango got up in the air. Why? Well, they will lie from the Bullfrogs. Well, there's a heavy battle going on here. The burst drones attached to tsunami tanks, some tank busters. Well, tsunami tanks aren't very good against hammer tanks because they cost the same, but only half as effective in combat, which in a hammer tank and tsunami tank duel, the hammer tank comes with the health AP left, so it's a much stronger unit. The counter to them are the tank busters. Tank busters are great against hammer tanks, but I counter by bears, and bears I counter by tsunami tanks. So it's rather of a rock paper scissors. So what Soviet player needs to do is to keep killing the tsunami tanks with hammer tanks, and needs to keep his bears on top of the tank busters. Otherwise, tank buster will cripple his production lines by destroying masses and masses of those tanks. Really, those tank busters are really strong on their own. A bunch of them can really one-shot a bear, but it won't be enough. What JoZhA needs to do is to get rid of the bears, so he will be able to shoot at those tanks, and this is his priority right now. Nothing going here. So all about going those 5 bears. Get those 5 bears down, and you'll be free to kill those hammer tanks. Oh, you can see those, only one. No, those bears just killed off. Now some great micro by hiding those tank buster in the ground, so not much of them is being lost by JoZhA. He's bringing some more reinforcement with Imperial Warrior, the cheapest counter to mass bears, and the fight is now get those bears off, because Soviet player doesn't have any way to counter the tank busters now. The natural counter would be the chopper 5Xs, but he can make one because he lost his airfield and his MCV. So maybe I would say the conscripts. Yes, I forgot the name because the unit is not so much used. The conscripts, while they are very ineffective, they are a great mid shield because they would allow the charging Imperial Warriors to get the fire on them. They are 2/3 of Imperial cost in terms of cost. they would shoot at the tank busters who are hiding in the ground and just create the mob factor, which would really serve for the relatively low cost for the Soviet player. 10 of them for the price of one hammer tank, which the Soviet player has plenty. Now we can see JoZhA going for tier 3. He actually can build buildings with his NCV being still on the game. And oh, so I'm sorry, I almost missed the action. Now, go, mow down those bears and run with those bears. Use the tanks to hide. Oh no. Only one bear left. If this bear dies, those tank busters will emerge. And this is going to be a tough time for the Soviet player then, because simple rock, paper, scissors rule will apply to this game. Kill this bear! JoZhA, this is your priority. Those tank busters are much slower than those hammer tanks. Yes, the bears dies to the 3 Imperial Warriors. And now JoZhA is able just to play a whack-a-mole game, which is greatly doing here with those hammer tanks. Tank buster costs $300, while hammer tanks cost $1,000. So 3 tank busters are an equivalent of a 1 hammer tank, while they are stronger than the 1 hammer tank. Now those forces are lost; they can't get out of the base. So, oh, that's not the best use of the flag troopers. Well, they couldn't do any much better here because of the Imperial Warriors running, so they would die anyway. And the MCV just can get a lot of punishment from those. So, and they are very, very expensive. So, Soviet player is able only to run with two bullfrogs, which aren't really any effective now because there is no air apparently in the game. I'm sorry that Mecha Tengu. JoZhA finds out that Soviet player has his strong economy while having still no base, and he's only wasting his time. Sure, he has a easier fight going without the air mix in the air, but he needs to use this advantage other than to engage his army in the middle. He needs to harass, which was the point. He needed to rebuild his Tengu, fair amount of them, but that would require time, and he was preoccupied his production line, only one production line that Empire player has, which preoccupied either by taking up or just spamming tsunami tanks to defend from the mainline attack of the Soviet player. So now, once the attack was fended off, he is free to build tsunami and harass the Soviet player economy. Now, go to the air, go not to the best micro. Well, he's pretty much preoccupied here, which is a more important scene of battle. You can see those hammer tanks running in back of those tanks, ignoring them and killing those bears. So his tank buster spam can easily take down this expansion, and is a very, very severe blow. Much more meaningful than this one harvester being taken down, which was, I would say, only a distraction. Well, get his harvester, because he will bring it to this Blown Expo. Yeah, JoZhA notices it. Well, still, this Olderich could be destroyed to further cripple Soviet player, but in the favor of battle, I understand that you have to prioritize, so this chopper could spend. Well, actually, chopper VXs are so slow to kill buildings. It's some hidden factor that they like take 1 minute and 30 seconds to kill this thing. What is it? Or refinery? Yes. So so the other player can like build 3 turrets in this time, or I don't know, do a complete tech up. So it's not a pattern. Now, what the JoZhA is trying to do is to further. Well, he's got his victim. The Soviet player. Well, he did rebuild his NCV earlier, but lost it again to the choppers, and was able to place his airfield, and this is his only hope. He didn't give up because he's now on the, I would say, the army disadvantage. Keep in mind that Soviet player has 3 refineries, almost yet depleted now, and 1 Olderich, while the Empire player had 3 ore refineries for the all time. So it's economically wise, it's pretty much even. Even the Empire player is dominating. A very nice power used. Is flag blades, trying to cripple this Allied Empire play economy. So economy-wise, it's pretty much even, while the Empire play is dominating the battlefield, I would say, for this part of the game. Now those twin bases are in a hard position because those Tengus in the water, those anti-air striker varixes on the land, so those flag blades need to be land to protect it. Now, those many of Imperial Worlds, he could have seen this. He could have grabbed them with those twin blades and moved them away, because they have a huge span radius. Where were the bears? Bears were here. Finally, twin blades who can stop the Empire army with the flag troopers and some bear spam, but I don't know if it's not too late because the momentum is on the JoZhA side. Now, that's I would say the only chance of winning the Soviet player, who is doing quite well despite the fact of no MCV, 2 MCV lost and no airfield, and there's air dominance, which is the most important ground air steam in this game. The air, the damned air. He really needs to get those flags and twin blades doing effective damage. I don't know if those few twin blades will be enough against those tsunami tanks charging. Oh, they won't be enough. There was like 6 or 7 of them, and you need like 3 per 1 tank. The tank busters hide in the ground, and the Imperial warrior spam getting those bears, the crucial bears. So, well, he could have used them to run. Well, probably he just gave up, because even if he did manage to get those Imperial warriors and came on top of them with the bears, still there's a huge army and he can't get any counter to them. Well, the Soviet player just lost this game, yet he is trying. The critical mass of twin blades and flag troopers wasn't achieved, and the Empire player was successful on keeping the Soviet player distracted and well countered all the times. So, well, very GG. Now, why the Soviet player did lose, and this game seems in the favor of Empire? I would say the early supremacy of the 1 MiG was lost, and then JoZhA was able to move here, destroy the airfield, and then proceed to here to destroy the MCV. Was the move that decided on the result of the whole battle, of the whole game. It was a very long and costly process to rebuild this MCV. It wasn't enough. The Empire player was able to put a nice resistance on the ground, and keep in mind that Soviet player are considered to be the faction that dominates the ground, and you can see Empire making a pretty dominant way of his units. Now he's only trying. I don't know. Is he last squadron? Yes, last squadron. Well, it is. You press X and your units split. Now that's a very big split up. Where I said GG. It was a very nice countering by each player. Those bears going after the tank busters, and Imperial warriors and Tengus going after bears, and not to mention the tsunami tank going after bears, and hammer tanks going after the infantry to mow them down, and going after tsunami tanks. So it was a very nice, intense game, and of the main reason that the Soviet player did lose, which is the many times mentioned lost the airline production, did end this game. Well, thank you for watching.